They ran credit. Cortland Simmons with you here on this 14th day of January in the year of our Lord 2019. And welcome to the CS Racing Report. And we're going to break down the raging debate over Horse of the Year for 2018. And it's turned into what has become a social media phenomenon in addition to the traditional way business is done in terms of litigating who should be divisional champions and ultimately Horse of the Year, which is the most prestigious honor in thoroughbred racing. And what's really happening is that someone, or there's a grassroots out there that believes that Justify, his Triple Crown just didn't have enough sizzle to merit him being Horse of the Year in the same fashion that prior Triple Crown winners win Horse of the Year. But what's really, really strangely interesting about this in a phenomenally disturbing way is the fact that his Triple Crown, even if you weren't visually as impressed by him as American Pharoah and for all the romancing that's been done with Seattle Slew and Affirm and Secretariat and Citation and countless others amongst the 13, is the fact that his Triple Crown, as all Triple Crown winners, have a unique story and a unique identity and identifying stamp that makes them a Triple Crown winner and their own entity upon sweeping those three races. And for Justify, what that is number one, that he won the Triple Crown, joining the likes of 12 others to become the 13th Triple Crown winner. Number two, he did it as an unraced 2-year-old. That's his stamp, and it may be one that never happens again. He may have, he bucked a lot of trends, not only breaking the Apollo curse of being the first horse to win the Kentucky Derby as an unraced 2-year-old, but then going on to win the Triple Crown. As Randy Moss said, the oddity of a horse being able to do that, and I think that people just don't see the significance of that. We've over-romanced the Triple Crown, which was a statement Randy Moss so eloquently made when Real Quiet was going for it in 1998, but now we're undervaluing and undermining it by trying to unseat a Triple Crown winner who, as I said before, did it as an unraced 2-year-old, had only started his career in February, was able to not only be competitive but win the Kentucky Derby and then win the Triple Crown. Then he joined Seattle Slew in winning that Triple Crown as an undefeated Triple Crown champion. And as I said before, he joins 12 others in the pantheon of greats. And we've seen horses that have had more talent, not only than Justify, but horses like American Pharoah and so forth. It's just a matter of having a perfect storm. And this is what people don't understand. People, tried to beat Justify all throughout the Triple Crown. Then when he won it, people say, well, he didn't beat anybody. As if American Pharoah, who's a little more respected, did beat someone. The history of the Triple Crown, that's the key to winning the Triple Crown. Outstanding horse that, number one, can hold his form. That's the key against subpar competition, because we've seen horses dominate the Derby and Preakness and then either not be able to hold their form and regress, or the regression starts the minute they break out of that starting gate and they realize they have to go 1.5 miles and they just can't get the 12 furlongs. Whatever the reason, coupled with an outstanding horse, and in some cases we've seen not such outstanding horses upset in a race like the Belmont because a number of horses can't get that 1.5 miles, even horses that were shorter in the odds. Sarava and does, Commendable and horses like Datara ring a bell. Datara and Sarava broke up Triple Crown bids. And we all know that what was interesting is they never did anything after that. That was the race of their lives, while the favorites, basically, as in Big Brown's case, did just that, browned out. So, in Birdstone, he was a nice horse in beating Smarty Jones, but, that had more to do with Smarty Jones not being able to get the distance, and some would argue that he won the Preakness by too many lengths and he didn't have anything left in the tank. But that's the key to the Triple Crown. We've seen, classes like that seem to be outclassed by one horse not be able to win the Triple Crown. So Justify is being undermined right there. He's not getting his just due for that, and he's being criticized. It's almost as if he's the first Triple Crown winner to beat subpar competition, and that's just not the case. The history, when you go back and look at the evidence, forensically, physically, you look at the hard evidence, if you're prosecuting or if you're investigating the history of the Triple Crown, and that has been the pattern. You have to have an outstanding horse that has tremendous ability, but has to hold the form to not allow one of these, long shots or even a legitimate horse to win it. We've seen legitimate horses beat very, very good horses to stop Triple Crown bids, whether it be Touch Gold on Silver Charm, whether it be Empire Maker on Funny Side, whether it be the situation with Easy Goer beating Sunday Silence. You cannot have that explosive opponent or rival or adversary going up against you in the Triple Crown. You have to have a separation and talent gap. So that's something that people aren't seeing. Number two, people are lumping in the poor performances or the lackluster performances of the 3-year-olds after the Triple Crown and using it to bury and pile on Justify and sort of supplement the argument that he didn't beat very, very good horses. But what's really interesting is that, and what is misguided and untrue and inaccurate, is the fact that by the time Accelerate beat a couple of horses that were in that Breeders' Cup Classic field that Justify had already beaten almost 6 months before in the Classics, was that the 3-year-olds actually got worse by the time Accelerate beat them in the Breeders' Cup Classic than they were in the Triple Crown races. If you go back and study the footage, these horses actually, even if you don't think they were a great group of 3-year-olds, and I certainly don't, I'm not one advocating or tooting the horn that this was like the class of 1957, 1987, 1994, 2000, 2007, legendary classes that could go 4 or 5 deep with outstanding horses, and it could be argued quite a few of them, more than a couple, could be in the Hall of Fame. That's the mark of a great class of 3-year-olds, and usually in years like that you don't get a Triple Crown winner. I'm not suggesting that that's what we had going on here, but the problem is that people don't see that in actuality the horses in the Derby and Preakness ran very well. Audible, coming up on the rail behind Good Magic, ran a very, very strong race. And then we all know about the blanket finish in the Preakness, in which, which was an underrated performance by Justify, by the way. If you really look at it, he was cruising at the end. He was maybe a little tired, but Mike Smith, supplemented, or he confirmed that thinking, if you had it, that he really didn't take as much out of him as even the close finish would indicate. And he did say that he put the whip away a little soon. He misjudged the finish because of all the fog. But the point is that it was a competitive race, regardless of whether you think Justify was impressive or not, because Tenfold, Bravazzo, Good Magic, who battled Justify all the way around, they ran a very, very good race. So even though collectively and cumulatively this class was not very good, they ran very, very well in the Triple Crown races.